Hey, did someone ever ask you, but when are you going to stop? Or when would you realize it's not working and you didn't know how to answer? Well, it happened to me many times in the past, and it took me years to understand what was my answer to that question. More about that right after the intro. Welcome to the Day One Journey, episode 125. Cha-ching. Yes, episode 125. Well, did you think about the question? Did someone ever ask you, but when are you going to stop? Think about this context. You have a goal, you have a project, you are passionate about it, and you're working on it, and you're having fun working on it, but still challenging. And then people ask you, mostly the closest people in your life, your best friends, your spouse, your parents, they ask you, but when are you going to stop? Or when would you realize it's not going to work? And you're just there, like I was there, sitting there, having no idea what to answer. Because you want to go forward, when you're going to stop, doesn't make sense. So instead of speaking generally, I think I can give you a very personal example in my life. Maybe you can relate, and we'll walk from there. What do you think? Let's dive into the past. I'm talking about 3 years in the past. I was talking with my ex-girlfriend back then, and I think I was just about going to the World Cup semi-finals, World Cup salsa solo division, and maybe I was just coming back or just before the competition, and I was talking to her about that dream, about that goal, winning the World Cup, and I was excited about that. And then she probably asked me, but and then what? After you win, and then what? And I'm like, maybe I try another time, and then maybe another time, and then she was asking me, and then what? Maybe. And then I told her, okay, 6 times. I wanna, like a small child, this is me, 6 times, why not? And she was, when is it going to stop? This is the time when she was asking me this question, and I was pretty puzzled, when is it going to stop? So I was thinking to myself, trying to explain myself and understand when it will stop, and I don't remember exactly what I said to her back then. And after we broke up, maybe even 2 years after that, 1 year after that by the way was 2015, 3 years ago, when we had this conversation, and it took me a while until I understood the answer, and until I understood at least my answer to that specific question in that specific moment. And the first understanding there was, for me, there was an assumption. You see, when she asked me when it's going to stop, there's an assumption there. Yeah, between the lines. Think about it. It took me 1 year to think about that, so I'll give you some few seconds to think about what's the assumption when she was asking me. Or think about yourself when someone might ask you, but when are you going to stop? What's their assumption? Their assumption, think about it, that you should stop sometime, somewhere. Think about it, that's the assumption. I didn't realize that, but after I realized that assumption, I realized what I want my answer to be. But we are out of time, so I'll tell you that in the next episode. What was my answer? I didn't give that answer, that specific answer, in the moment when she was asking, but still I realized what's my answer, and I used that answer in the future when other people were asking me similar questions. So just before, back to you, just before I'm giving you some interesting assignment for the day, I just want to emphasize the connection to self-discipline, because this is still the self-discipline series. And this is the third level. We talked about the third level in the last few episodes. The third level of self-discipline, the power of why. Many people ask me, how do I have so much self-discipline in the things that I'm doing? I'm not necessarily thinking that I have so much self-discipline, but the third level, but I'm touching almost every day the third level of self-discipline, which is the power of why. Okay, so this is still, we're talking about the power of why. Why I want to win the world champion. Yes, and what's behind it, and why I'm not necessarily going to stop going for it. But more about that in the next episode. Just remember the connection. Remember the connection. The first level of self-discipline was choosing between what we want most and what we may want right now. The second level was commitment, being committed, being consistent with that specific decision. And the third level is the power of why. Yes, the power of why. What stands behind this commitment? The power of why. So this episode, also the next episode, is still the power of why. Last episode, by the way, if you remember, was about how far you can go. Or, more personally, this is one of my core reasons, core whys. I want to know how far I can go. So, more about that. In the next episode, I will show you exactly what was the answer that I finally realized how to answer to people asking me, but when you are going to stop? With the assumption they have that I should stop at a certain point. So back to you. I want you to think about the last time someone told you that. Someone asked you, but when are you going to stop? And if that didn't happen, try to think about the time that you are asking someone else, when are you going to stop? And I want you to just raise the level of self-awareness. Yes, just raise the level of self-awareness and understand the assumption there. Because when you ask them, or when they ask you, but when you're going to stop, the assumption there is that you should stop at a certain point. So just acknowledge and be aware of that assumption when you ask that question, or you are being asked that question the next time it happens. So do this today, and of course, have an amazing, day one. See you tomorrow.